The story then continues with Jinwoo sleeping in late, only to be jolted awake by a call from Gina. Hearing his groggy voice, Gina immediately knows he's still in bed and asks if he even realizes what time it is. Glancing at the clock, Jinwoo notices it's already 2 in the afternoon, so Gina quickly reminds him that her parent-teacher meeting is today. Later, Jinwoo arrives at the meeting, looking surprisingly well-dressed. Gina is stunned by how dashing he appears, prompting Jinwoo to wonder if something's wrong, but Gina reassures him it's not, that it's just unexpected. He then explains that he just had to dress appropriately since showing up in sportswear wouldn't be suitable. Gina muses about how much people can change, and as they walk through the school halls, Jinwoo garners attention from the girls around, leaving them whispering in curiosity. Gina, noticing this, teases him about not having a girlfriend yet, offering to introduce him to someone, but he angrily dismisses the idea. Later, Jinwoo meets with Gina's teacher, who is full of praise for her. The teacher describes Gina as an exemplary student and role model, noting her strong performance in mock exams. Confident that Gina can get into medical college, she advises Jinwoo not to pressure her too much, and Jinwoo agrees. But before the meeting concludes, the teacher asks Jinwoo what he would do if Gina awakened and wanted to become a hunter. Jinwoo's response is immediate and firm that he wouldn't allow it. The teacher expected such an answer and mentions she has a favor to ask. The story then transitions to Jinwoo meeting Song-yi, who is surprised to see him. Jinwoo reveals he is Gina's brother, and Song-yi quickly pieces together that the teacher must have sent him to convince her to quit being a hunter. She defiantly refuses, saying she won't quit or return to school. Jinwoo points out that as an E-rank hunter, she won't have many opportunities to earn money. And while she may have made good money as part of his assault team, that was an exception. Song-yi frustratedly tells him to leave if all he plans to do is lecture her. And she even throws his rank back at him, reminding him he's also E-rank. Jinwoo then calmly states that he's not here to lecture or convince her to quit. Instead, he asks her to follow him. Elsewhere, Jinchul greets Dongsu upon his arrival in Japan, surprising Dongsu with the personal reception. Dongsu sarcastically notes that the chief of the Hunter Association himself has come to welcome him. But Jinchul wastes no time and directly asks how long Dongsu plans to stay. Dongsu reassures him not to worry, as he won't be around for long. Jinchul, however, is skeptical, noting that Dongsu has returned to the very country he betrayed, ostensibly just to meet 2 specific individuals. Dongsu smirks, confident that Jinchul knows the truth, his visit isn't just to see them. And he eerily suggests the surveillance team should turn a blind eye to whatever happens to those 2 in a dungeon, revealing his intent to eliminate Jinwoo first and then Leo. And he confidently remarks that Jinchul's abilities won't be enough to stop him, and Jinchul simply responds that he is just doing his duty. Elsewhere, we see some monsters being unloaded from the chopper that Guild Master Choi and the others took from near Jojo Island, and then Choi briefs the chairman of the Hunter Association on the situation. He explains that the monsters had been attempting to cross the sea to reach the mainland, but couldn't sustain flight and fell into the water. Choi then warns that if left unchecked, these creatures might one day succeed in crossing over, but Gunhee promises to do whatever it takes to prevent that from happening. The scene then cuts to Jinwoo, who meets up with Sang. Sang, surprised by the unexpected call, comments on how rare it is to hear from Jinwoo, and notices Song-yi is with him. Jinwoo then apologizes for the sudden request, but Sang assures him it's fine, though he's curious about Jinwoo's interest in observing their training. Sang then points to a nearby gate, explaining that it's a level C gate that just appeared recently. As they talk, an impatient man interrupts, grumbling that they should start the raid already since this isn't a picnic. Jinwoo glances at him curiously, and Sang introduces him as Kim Chul, and a rank hunter with the role of a tanker. Sang adds that Kim Chul is the leader of the assault team, and it's clear that Kim Chul is annoyed about having E-rank hunters tagging along to watch his raid. Kim Chul's displeasure is obvious, and Sang tries to smooth things over by explaining the team composition to Jinwoo. The raid consists of 1 rank A hunter, 5 rank BS, and 2 rank CS, making a total of 10 people, including Jinwoo and Song-yi. Jinwoo isn't thrilled about the large group since his main purpose was to show Song-yi the harsh realities of dungeon raids, but with so many participants, it might dilute the experience. Sang's assistant then advises Jinwoo to stay on the sidelines and let the newcomers gain practical experience, and Jinwoo agrees. The team then enters the gate, but Jinwoo immediately senses something off, and he notices the gate behind him behaving strangely as it begins to glow red. He then realizes what's happening and tries to escape, managing to squeeze his head out to warn Sang to contact the assault team. But then the gate pulls him back inside again. Sang then quickly contacts Beak, informing him of the red gate, and Beak immediately sets out to assist. Inside, Jinwoo and the team find themselves in an endless snowfield, stunned to discover that the gate has completely vanished, so panic sets in as they wonder how they'll escape. Kim Chul then steps forward and explains that they're trapped inside a red gate. Song Yi confusedly asks what that means, so Jinwoo calmly explains that unlike normal gates, a red gate is a dungeon where all contact with the outside world is lost upon entry, and to escape they must either defeat the boss or wait for the dungeon to collapse, and adds that the outside world cannot interfere, and the dungeon will be crawling with dangerous magical beasts. Suddenly, arrows rain down on the group. One hunter is killed instantly, but Jinwoo quickly catches the second arrow that is aimed at Song Yi and shields her from harm. The girl is stunned by his reflexes, and the team realizes they are surrounded by ice elves. Jinwoo then notes that their distance had masked their presence, and he sees they targeted the group's weakest members, and he acknowledges that if this had happened 2 months ago, he wouldn't have survived. The ice elves then retreat, leaving Song Yi confused, so Jinwoo explains that ice elves are ruthless predators known as ice slayers among hunters, feared for their brutal efficiency. Kim Chul then takes charge, announcing that no help will be coming in this place, and insists they follow his commands if they want to survive. He then claims that he can't manage the entire group, so he proposes splitting into 2 teams, arguing this will improve their chances. He warns that staying in one place risks freezing to death, and insists he can protect those who go with him. Most of the group agrees to go with Kim Chul, but he quickly singles out the weaker members, refusing to take them along, and he explains that their presence would slow the team down. He then states that 1 day in this dungeon equals an hour outside, and it could take months to defeat the boss or wait for the dungeon to collapse. And with a cold, dismissive tone, he labels them as dead weight, so he is going to leave them. But he promises to come back for them once the boss is defeated. One girl in the group decides to stick with Jinwoo, and Kim Chul thinks that's a stupid move, but she is sure that Kim Chul didn't notice the arrow earlier, and quietly whispers to Jinwoo that she noticed his earlier reflexes, convinced he's much stronger than he seems, and she thinks that he is even a rank or even higher, but Jinwoo doesn't confirm or deny it. Kim Chul then declares he'll take the main road, assuming it's the best route, so Jinwoo offers to lead his team through the forest. After some time, Kim Chul's group notices claw marks on the trees, so he confidently declares that they've entered Ice Bear territory and smugly remarks that the E-rank team will likely be killed. Soon after, they sense ice bears nearby, and the group quickly finds themselves surrounded. One of the massive creatures charges, but Kim Chul blocks the attack with his shield and cleaves the bear in half with his axe. And without hesitation, he moves to engage the other 2 bears, maintaining his confidence. Meanwhile, Jinwoo's group is stopped by the girl, who points out similar claw marks. She warns them that they're in Ice Bear territory and suggests they turn back to avoid an encounter. Jinwoo disagrees, suggesting instead that they press deeper. He explains that since this is Ice Bear territory, they'll only need to worry about the bears, which are weaker than the elves that wait outside. The girl thinks it over and realizes Jinwoo is right, no other magic beasts would enter this area because of the bear's dominance. As they move forward, the air grows colder, so Jinwoo pulls coats from his inventory using subspace magic, handing them out to everyone. The group is amazed at his ability, putting on the warm coats with gratitude. But Song Yi, still puzzled, asks Jinwoo who he really is. Jinwoo avoids the question, reminding her that he brought her here, so it's his responsibility to protect her. But he requests that she and the others not ask further questions. Just then, a massive ice bear emerges from the shadows, so Jinwoo steps forward and changes his title to Wolf Assassin as he prepares for the fight. Meanwhile, outside the gate, Beak observes the ominous red glow and concludes that this gate is bad news, and he doubts that anyone but high-ranking hunters could survive. He then places his hopes on Kim Chul, believing his rank might give the assault team a chance. But Sang informs him that in addition to the official assault team, others entered the gate including Jinwoo. Beak then curiously asks Jinwoo's rank, and Sang replies that Jinwoo is officially E rank, though he suspects he may have reawakened, though Jinwoo has never confirmed it. Beak isn't optimistic about Jinwoo's chances, but then Dongsu arrives with Jinchul. Beak is visibly displeased to see Dongsu, questioning why he's here when he's supposed to be in America. Dongsu ignores the question and instead challenges Beak, asking why an E-rank hunter was allowed into the gate when he isn't even part of their guild. Dongsu makes it clear he's referring to Jinwoo, leaving Beak wondering how Dongsu knows him. Dongsu scoffs at the red gate, lamenting that Jinwoo will likely die inside before he gets the chance to meet him. Jinchul, observing Dongsu's frustration, muses that Jinwoo is fortunate to be inside the gate, sparing him a confrontation with Dongsu. However, Jinchul doubts Jinwoo's chances of making it out alive. Inside the gate, Jinwoo finishes off the last of the ice bears, earning another level up. His team and the girl are left stunned and wondering who he is, but he remains tight-lipped. Later, the group gathers to eat roasted bear meat, and they are astonished that Jinwoo managed to take down so many bears alone. The girl warns that they can't afford to relax just yet, as the lair of the monsters must be nearby. Song Yi, on the other hand, is baffled by Jinwoo's behavior, questioning why Jinwoo has gone out for exercise after dinner even though he just fought such an intense battle. So she remarks on how strange he is, and the others agree. Elsewhere, we see Jinwoo standing outside the lair of the ice bears, ready to test his shadow army. He summons them, watching as they charge forward. The shadows easily cut down the bears, but some of the creatures fight back fiercely, managing to rip apart parts of his army. However, the shadows regenerate quickly using Jinwoo's mana and return to the fight. Then we see that the mages in his army provide excellent support, and Jinwoo is impressed, thinking they've performed better than expected. But he notes that maintaining them uses a lot of mana. Suddenly, the massive boss of the ice bears emerges, and with a single devastating attack, it wipes out Jinwoo's entire shadow army, draining a significant amount of his mana in the process. Left unable to regenerate his soldiers, Jinwoo summons Igris. The Shadow Knight steps forward confidently, so the bear charges at him, but Igris dodges with ease, delivering a precise slash, and in moments the bear is brought to its knees. It attempts a final desperate attack, but Igris finishes it with a swift beheading. Jinwoo observes, impressed by Igris's power. Reflecting on their earlier duel, he admits that he would have lost if Igris had used his sword. Even now, at his current level, Jinwoo believes Igris might still be stronger, and then he praises Igris for handling the fight so well. Meanwhile, Kim Chul's party faces the elves, and we see that all of his teammates have been killed, leaving him alone struggling to process what the hell just happened. He bitterly reflects on how close he was to becoming an elite member of the White Tiger Guild, only to end up in this dire situation. The sight of the elves and the remaining survivors terrifies him, and he realizes he has no chance of winning, so he runs as fast as he can to escape.
Then we see Jinwoo stands victorious over the Death Bears, showcasing his immense power as a necromancer. With a simple command to rise, shadow bears emerge from the corpses, seamlessly joining Jinwoo's ever-growing shadow army. Outside the portal, Sang explains that the strike force has been trapped inside for 3 hours, which translates to about 3 days in the portal's distorted time. Red gates are notoriously dangerous, so Dongsu concludes that Jinwoo must already be dead and begins preparing to leave. However, Dongsu halts his departure, demanding to know why Jinwoo was associating with the White Tiger Guild in the first place. Sang casually explains that Jinwoo is merely an acquaintance who wanted to observe a C-rank mission. Then, while Sang feels relieved that this answer should suffice, Dongsu shocks everyone by suddenly choking Sang. Dongsu isn't fooled, he knows Sang has a talent for identifying promising new hunters. At that moment, Baek steps forward, transforming as he tells Dongsu to stop. This only enrages Dongsu further, who dismisses Bak as nothing more than a big fish in a small pond. The two S-rank hunters then release some of their power, sending waves of terror through those nearby. Sang grows increasingly alarmed, fearing that an S-rank battle could devastate the entire area. But despite this, the tension escalates and the two hunters clash. Inside the portal, Kim Chul feels relieved after escaping the elves, but his relief turns to horror when he stumbles upon the mangled corpses of the Death Bears. The sight terrifies him, and he begins to wonder how the E ranks he abandoned could possibly be responsible for such devastation. The sheer destruction leaves him trembling, so he suspects that the Ice Layers might be the true culprits and quickly retreats into the forest. Outside the gate, Dongsu is impressed when Jinchul intervenes, managing to stop the escalating S-rank fight, so Jinchul humbly admits that the only reason his arms remain intact is that the two S-rank hunters restrained themselves at the last moment. Jinchul then reassures Dongsu that Jinwoo is just an E-rank hunter, emphasizing that he re-evaluated Jinwoo 2 months ago and found no reason to believe otherwise. Additionally, Jinchul explains that the surveillance team's investigation into your brother's death revealed it was caused by a magic beast. Dongsu dismisses this as a convenient public cover-up, convinced that if Jinwoo isn't the culprit, then the killer must be the wealthy Leo. Jinchul then questions why Dongsu is targeting Jinwoo if he believes he isn't the killer, but Dongsu's reply is cold and blunt. It's an excuse to kill. But before the conversation can continue, Dongsu is called away, muttering that Jinwoo is lucky. Sang watches him leave and reflects on how no one truly grasps the depth of Jinwoo's power the way he does. Confident in Jinwoo's strength, Sang believes he will survive the Red Gate. Inside the gate, Jinwoo's group sits around a fire, trying to stay warm. But their moment of peace is shattered when Kim Chul storms in, furious to see these weaklings alive and thriving. Dressed in weather gear and surrounded by blankets and food, they're clearly in much better shape than his own group. So Kim Chul gets enraged and accuses them of hoarding supplies, claiming his team died because they lacked proper equipment. Blinded by anger, he demands to know who was hiding all the gear and blames Park, suspecting she joined the weaker group because she knew the truth. Kim Chul then issues an ultimatum, counting down from 3 and threatening to eliminate them all if the culprit doesn't confess. And when no one speaks up, he screams Jinwoo's name, assuming him to be responsible and prepares to attack. However, before Kim Chul can act, Jinwoo suddenly appears and utterly overpowers him. The group is stunned by their leader's unexpected return, and Jinwoo admonishes Kim Chul for blaming others for his party's failure. Jinwoo also senses something more sinister nearby and accuses Kim Chul of dragging even greater trouble into their midst. Turning his attention to the surroundings, Jinwoo calls out to the hidden presence, stating that their aura is far too strong to go unnoticed, and he orders them to drop their stealth. In response, the Ice Elves reveal themselves, their leader remarking in disdain that one of the human scum is unexpectedly strong. Jinwoo retorts sharply, shocking everyone as he speaks fluently in the language of the magic beasts. Even Jinwoo is surprised by this ability, quickly deducing that his cheat system must be responsible. The elven leader then begins to explain their presence, revealing that one of his men sensed Jinwoo's immense power when he stopped the arrow, so the elf wanted to challenge Jinwoo to a fight. However, before the leader can finish speaking, Jinwoo swiftly chops off the challenger's head. The leader is amused by this display of brutality, but Jinwoo is uninterested in entertaining him and immediately launches an attack. The leader defends himself skillfully, and Jinwoo quickly realizes that this opponent won't go down easily. The leader, still amused, remarks that Jinwoo isn't human and questions why he's pretending to be. Jinwoo is confused by the comment, but the leader's laugh makes it clear that he knows something Jinwoo doesn't. He explains that elves are driven by a voice in their minds commanding them to kill humans, but strangely, they don't hear it when it comes to Jinwoo. This revelation makes Jinwoo suspicious, wondering if the elves' silence toward him is connected to his system directives. The leader speculates that Jinwoo might not be entirely human and encourages him to sensibly hand over the other humans. But Jinwoo demands to know why the elves are targeting humans at all. As the leader begins to answer, something bizarre occurs. His body glitches, and he repeats himself as if stuck in a loop. However, Jinwoo refuses to comply, and the leader warns that defiance would make Jinwoo their enemy and reminds him that they vastly outnumber him. But Jinwoo is undeterred and questions why the leader is so confident. And with that, Jinwoo summons his shadow army, leaving the others to look on in disbelief, wondering how such a thing is even possible. The elven leader then dismisses Jinwoo's forces as a waste of time, but Jinwoo ignores his words and presses for a fight. The leader obliges, and the two sides engage in a brutal battle. The humans with Jinwoo attempt to flee, but elven archers target them. Jinwoo demonstrates his incredible skill, eliminating the archers with ease, but despite his prowess, Jinwoo begins to understand the leader's confidence. The elves are stronger than he anticipated and are dealing significant damage. While Jinwoo's shadow army is technically immortal, regenerating his troops costs magic power. Though Jinwoo possesses a considerable reserve, it isn't infinite, and he realizes it could eventually run out. And even worse, he concludes that the elven leader is undeniably stronger than him. The leader engages Jinwoo directly, and Jinwoo quickly evaluates the situation, realizing that even with Igris fighting beside him, Barca remains an overwhelming opponent. The odds are against him, and his regular soldiers won't suffice, so Jinwoo concludes he needs a stronger force to match the leader's power. The leader then formally introduces himself as Barca, and Jinwoo returns the gesture. The two warriors charge at each other with ferocity, and Barca immediately displays his dominance. However, he's momentarily stunned when Jinwoo teleports his blade to his opposite hand mid-attack. Their exchange continues with narrow misses on both sides, but Jinwoo eventually gets pushed back. Barca expresses delight at the challenge, stating he hasn't enjoyed a fight like this in years. Jinwoo, smiling back, unleashes a massive meteor that crashes down onto Barca, catching him off guard. Meanwhile, Kim Chul regains consciousness, seething with anger. Seething with hatred, he curses Jinwoo again and grips his sword tightly, determined to take him down. Then, as Barca battles Jinwoo's magic soldiers, Kim Chul uses the chaos to make his move. However, Jinwoo, having anticipated this, orders Igris to create a dense smokescreen. Using the cover, Igris swiftly ends Kim Chul's life. Realizing too late that Jinwoo had planned this all along, Kim Chul succumbs to his last thoughts filled with regret. With Kim Chul's defeat, Jinwoo commands him to rise, and a radiant light erupts from his body as he is reborn as a shadow soldier. Barca, still charging at Jinwoo, mocks the notion that hiding will save him, but his confidence is shaken when a towering new shadow soldier emerges to confront him, forcing Barca to retreat momentarily. Jinwoo then names his newest member Iron, and the resurrected Kim Chul lets out a deafening scream. Barca assesses Iron, quickly noting after a few seconds of battle that the soldier lacks agility but possesses immense durability. Nearby, Songyi watches in disbelief, wondering if all hunter battles are this intense. Her companions assure her that this battle is far beyond anything they've seen before. Then, while Iron holds his ground, Barca declares the fight lacks challenge and demands that Jinwoo and Igris join the fray. Jinwoo accepts Barca's challenge with a smirk, and the intense 3-on-1 battle begins. Barca's overwhelming strength is on full display as he fends off Jinwoo, Igris, and Iron simultaneously. However, his frustration grows as Iron's persistent screams echo throughout the fight. So Barca decides Iron must be dealt with first, but Iron proves to be a formidable tank, enduring every blow. Barca's confidence grows as he dodges Igris' strikes, but he's caught off guard when Jinwoo lands a stab. Jinwoo is so impressed because Barca avoids a fatal wound even amidst the chaos. Barca then bristles at being underestimated, but Jinwoo commends him for surviving this long. Then, as the fight rages on, Jinwoo takes a moment to turn his attention to the rest of his clan. Barca, suddenly remembering his army, turns to see a horrifying sight. Jinwoo's shadow army has wiped out his entire clan. But despite the grim sight, Barca remains confident, certain that taking out Jinwoo will be enough to turn the tide. As Jinwoo throws his dagger, Barca mocks him, calling him a fool for discarding his weapon. However, he underestimates Jinwoo, who recalls the dagger with pinpoint accuracy. Barca barely blocks it, but his weapon is destroyed in the process. Jinwoo then seizes the moment, ordering Iron to restrain Barca. Immobilized, Barca becomes the target of an immense fire attack unleashed by Jinwoo's magic soldiers. But despite the devastating strike, Barca isn't finished. He cuts through Iron and vows to annihilate the humans, but Jinwoo counters, silencing him once and for all. Jinwoo declares the battle over, but Barca, defiant to the end, insists it's not finished until he says so. His defiance is short-lived as Iron regenerates and crushes him completely. So Jinwoo reiterates that the battle is indeed over as Barca lies lifeless on the ground. The ground then begins to tremble, but it's actually merely Iron ensuring their victory is absolute. Jinwoo reprimands Iron, reminding him to show restraint, and silently hopes this behavior won't become a recurring issue. The group then breathes a collective sigh of relief, astonished as Jinwoo calmly tells them it's time to leave. They all feel relieved to leave, but before that, Jinwoo takes one final look at Barca's lifeless body. Outside the portal, Sang tells Bak it's time to return home, as a week has passed inside and the chances of survival seem slim. But Bak refuses to leave, unwilling to abandon his guild members. Then both men are stunned when the portal begins to open, and Bak confidently assumes it's Kim Chul emerging, certain his guild member managed to succeed. However, both are shocked when the figure stepping out isn't Kim Chul but Jinwoo, alive and unscathed. Sang's confidence proves correct, and Jinwoo stands as the undeniable victor. The gate then closes, and Bak is left wondering about Kim Chul's fate. And when he learns that only the low-ranked hunter survived, he is horrified and deeply curious about what transpired inside. Bak then approaches Jinwoo for answers, but Jinwoo, visibly exhausted, tells him to direct his questions to someone in his guild. Bak is taken aback, interpreting this as defiance, and he is stunned by the audacity, as Jinwoo wasn't asking, he was ordering, and worse, it could even be taken as a threat. Tensions rise as Blake grows more serious, emphasizing that 6 of his guild members are missing, making it his duty to find out what happened. Jinwoo, unfazed by the intimidation, calmly points out that he was the one who saved the 2 surviving members, which means Bak should be showing him gratitude instead. Bak takes a moment to cool down, realizing Jinwoo is right, and apologizes for his earlier demeanor. Then with the situation diffused, Jinwoo takes Songyi home. After Jinwoo departs, Bae turns to Park, asking about Jinwoo and why he seems so angry. Park explains that Jinwoo's mood only changed after defeating the boss. Sang suggests that it must be due to exhaustion, noting that Jinwoo is usually a kind person. Then of course Bug gets intrigued and instructs Sang to do whatever it takes to recruit Jinwoo into their guild. Later, Jinwoo drops off Songyi at her home. She thanks him for everything and says she looks forward to seeing him again. Then as he leaves, Jinwoo reflects on the ordeal. Surprisingly, less than a day has passed since they were trapped in the gate, so he feels disappointed, having only earned a single dagger for all his trouble, and he concludes that Barca must have been far too high level to yield better rewards. Looking back, Jinwoo remembers trying to raise Barca as an immortal soldier. Despite being given 3 attempts, he failed to extract him. Jinwoo takes solace in gaining iron from the situation, but can't ignore the fact that it marks the 3rd time he has had to take human lives. The next day, Jinwoo meets Leo, but he's shocked by Leo's flashy and over-the-top attire. As they prepare for their mission, Jinwoo tells Leo that they need to pick someone up first. That someone turns out to be Songyi, much to Leo's surprise. Seeing how informal Jinwoo and Songyi are with each other, Leo grows suspicious. Then, when Jinwoo casually asks Songyi if she managed to get any sleep, Leo misinterprets the interaction. Worried about Jinwoo's intentions, Leo reminds him that Songyi is underage. Jinwoo brushes it off, clearly unaware of Leo's misunderstanding, which only fuels Leo's concern. Sometime later, Leo watches in awe as Jinwoo's soldiers brutally annihilate a group of powerful beasts. Leo can't figure out where on earth they came from, and Jinwoo recalls that Leo hasn't seen them yet. So Jinwoo reveals that they're a part of one of his baddest skills, but Leo has zero clue that this level of monstrous power is even possible. With the battle over, Jinwoo orders his army to begin mining the area for crystals. Leo, feeling dejected by his inability to match their efficiency, pleads with Jinwoo to at least let him collect the magic gems. Jinwoo isn't self-loving though, and one of his soldiers offers to share the work. Elsewhere, we see a man standing amidst the wreckage of a destroyed ship, and a frightened soldier begs for his life, but the man calmly tells him to relax. But the problem is they don't speak the same language, so after switching to broken English, the man explains that he's human and that all he wants is to go home. Back with Jinwoo, he celebrates with Leo after completing the 19 raids that were part of their agreement. And with the raids done, Leo's next step is to pass the written exam at the association to earn his guildmaster's license. And once he has the license, he'll finally be able to negotiate with his father. But as for Jinwoo, he announces that he plans to travel for a while, so Leo thinks that Jinwoo must be trying to get away from him, but Jinwoo denies it, saying he's just drunk. Leo, however, is used to being pushed away, especially by his older brother, who's 10 years older and has always been cold toward him, so they never did anything brotherly together. But by contrast, Jinwoo has helped Leo so much that Leo wistfully admits he wishes Jinwoo were his brother instead. Moved by Leo's pain, Jinwoo fills 2 cups and says that starting from today he will consider him his little brother, and that cool shit makes Leo as stunned but deeply touched. Meanwhile, the mysterious man from the shipwreck has been restrained, and investigators discuss his origins. He claims to be a foreign hunter who was trapped inside a gate 10 years ago and only recently found an exit that led to a gate in America. The investigators are skeptical, worrying that he might be a humanoid magic beast. To verify his identity, they called in an S-rank hunter for questioning, and that Dan Hunter is Dongsu, and they're waiting on him to do the questioning because the only information they know is that the man's name is Ilfwan Sung. Later, Jinwoo tells his sister Gina that he'll be traveling for a week. She notes how busy he's been lately and teasingly asks who he'll be going with. Irritated by the question, Jinwoo curtly replies that he'll be going with a friend and leaves it at that. Soon after, he stands at the entrance to the Demon Castle, reflecting on how much he has grown since he barely survived his fight against Cerberus at level 20. But now with his level 3 times higher, Jinwoo is confident this challenge will go differently. Jinwoo then uses the key from his system to unlock the gate and enters the castle. Reviewing the quest objectives, he sees that his mission involves collecting demon souls. However, Jinwoo is shocked to learn that the system requires him to collect 10,000 souls, an amount he can hardly believe exists in the dungeon. But despite the overwhelming task, Jinwoo stays focused on his real objective, obtaining the ingredients for the elixir of life to save his mother. So no matter how many demons stand in his way, Jinwoo resolves to complete this damn quest. Elsewhere, Leo speaks with his father Han about taking over the guild. Leo is well aware that his older brother is also vying for control, but disagrees with his brother's approach. He argues that bringing in an outsider to run the guild is too risky for the company's future. Han, however, shifts the focus to Jinwoo, criticizing Leo for associating with him. Han recounts how Jinwoo was present at 3 highly controversial incidents: the double dungeon, the raid where Hung's team was wiped out, and the surveillance team Hunter incident involving murdered convicts. But despite the danger, Jinwoo miraculously survived all 3. Han also notes that Jinwoo was instrumental in helping Leo clear 19 raids to earn his Guildmaster license, and also played a significant role in the Red Gate incident, leading survivors to safety. So Han accuses Leo of using underhanded tactics by relying on Jinwoo to gain an advantage. While Leo admits his methods weren't ideal, he insists he knows what's best for the guild. But to Leo's surprise, Han suddenly agrees to let him pursue leadership, but with one condition: Han wants Jinwoo recruited to their guild. Han reveals that the White Tigers Guild has been trying to scout Jinwoo since the Red Gate incident, recognizing his immense potential. So if Leo truly wants to lead, Han challenges him to secure Jinwoo's allegiance first, and Leo accepts the challenge and promises to make it happen. Back in the Demon Castle, Jinwoo realizes that despite defeating countless demons, he is unable to extract their shadows to add to his army, and he can't figure out why. He has taken down a massive number of them, yet it feels like all that effort might have been wasted. Just then, he receives an entry permit for the next floor, and a glowing light marks the way forward. Jinwoo marvels at the dungeon's immense size because it's essentially an entire city contained within a single building. However, all the walking is quickly becoming tiresome, but luckily Jinwoo summons the bear leader to carry him. The beast charges forward, effortlessly cutting through a sea of demons that block their path. Impressed by its sheer power, Jinwoo decides to name the bear tank. Elsewhere, a group of girls marvel at Cha-hai as they admire her. Cha-hai, however, recalls a conversation she had with Mr. Choi. He decided to keep the reports about the flying ants under wraps, but Cha-hai felt they should go public. Mr. Choi explained that releasing that information would only cause widespread panic, and instead, they should focus on strengthening their guild, as they're already the largest domestic guild, and more power is the key to expansion. Back in the dungeon, Jinwoo has cleared even more demons. When he first received the key, he feared this might be an S-rank dungeon, but so far the demons he's faced are around high B rank. Their numbers are overwhelming, and they grow stronger with each floor, but by only killing the demons required to proceed, Jinwoo has made steady progress. Based on his experience with other structures, Jinwoo guesses that this castle likely has 100 floors, just like the Tower of Trials, so he wonders how strong he'll be by the time he reaches the top. Then as he reaches 4,000 souls collected, he reminds himself to track his supplies carefully. He also recalls his promise to Gina to return within a week, making this a race against time. Eventually, Jinwoo collects 10,000 souls, completing the quest's main requirement. However, his journey isn't over yet. As he progresses, he encounters a group of powerful monsters, and the leader's name appears in red text, indicating extreme danger. The monster's name is Vulcan, the boss-class leader of the lower floors. Elsewhere, we see that Sang searches for Jinwoo, only to learn from Gina that her brother is on a trip, but Sang isn't convinced. There are no records of him doing a raid or leaving the country, and the last trace the association has of him is right in the middle of the city, so the association can only speculate about where he's gone. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, Jinwoo declares that he'll take on the big boss while instructing his army to wipe out the remaining demons. His soldiers immediately spring into action, swiftly taking down the horde, and with more points allocated to his intellect ability, Jinwoo can summon a larger army and maintain them more efficiently, and also the increase in magical power has made battling much smoother. Jinwoo then turns his attention to the boss-class demon and wonders if the giant beast is ever going to get up. Assuming it's just going to sit there, he's caught off guard when it suddenly moves with blinding speed to attack him. Jinwoo reacts just as fast, dodging the strike and countering with a damn powerful punch that sends the massive demon flying. Even Jinwoo is surprised by his own strength because all he did is punch the damn monster, so he wonders if he accidentally leveled up his power. However, Vulcan isn't finished, and it lets out a thunderous roar, so it seems it's about to shift into another form, reminding Jinwoo of his previous battle with Cerberus. The beast then charges at him with alarming speed, so Jinwoo calls out to Iron, who sends him a shield just in time. Jinwoo blocks the attack, but the giant launches a relentless barrage of punches. Jinwoo is stunned by how something so enormous can move so quickly. As the attacks continue, he manages to find an opening and moves behind the beast, only to discover that it can anticipate his movements. Vulcan is an absolute monster, and the only vulnerable-looking spot that Jinwoo can identify is his little head. Jinwoo then begins running, formulating a strategy to limit the beast's mobility. Spotting the perfect building nearby, he sprints toward it. Vulcan, too focused on chasing Jinwoo, crashes straight into the structure, and with the beast momentarily immobilized, Jinwoo summons his weapon, and in one decisive strike he slices through Vulcan's neck. The Lord of the Lower Floors is defeated, and Jinwoo receives an item called World Tree Fragment as his reward. Elsewhere, we see that Ilfwan is being interrogated by Dongsu, who has heard rumors that Ilfwan might be a talking magic beast. But Ilfwan denies the claim, offering to undergo any tests, including DNA analysis to prove his humanity. But despite this, Dongsu plays the role of a bad cop and shuts him down, ordering him not to speak unless asked a question. Dongsu is irritated that his fun has been spoiled and takes a look at Ilfwan's paperwork. Ilfwan then asks if he can say something, but Dongsu snaps at him and told to shut up. Ignoring the warning, Ilfwan presses on, asking how much humanity truly understands about gates and magic beasts. Dongsu has no idea what the hell Ilfwan is talking about, so Ilfwan elaborates, explaining that the dungeons, gates, and beasts are merely the tip of the iceberg. He warns that a power capable of triggering an ultimate catastrophe has already awakened. Ilfwan then reveals that he can't say any more, but insists that his only goal is to avert this disaster. Dongsu has had enough of what he considers nonsense and reminds Ilfwan that millions of hunters exist worldwide. He argues that if enough of them combine their strength, they can handle any threat. Ilfwan, however, reveals that sheer numbers won't matter against what's coming. He warns that those hunters will be devoured and turned into weapons against humanity itself. Dongsu, increasingly frustrated, dismisses Ilfwan's claims and turns to the absurdity of his backstory, specifically how a magic beast supposedly managed to have a wife and 2 kids. With mock curiosity, Dongsu asks what Ilfwan's son's name is, so Ilfwan replies that his son's name is Jinwoo. Dongsu's mood shifts to amusement as he smirks, informing Ilfwan that his son is dead. He refuses to answer any of Ilfwan's questions, adding that Ilfwan can ask his son all about it when they meet in the afterlife. Dongsu flexes his power while making this threat, but Ilfwan's expression darkens, his eyes filling with murderous intent. Back in the dungeon, Jinwoo's shadow army is ripping through yet another group of demons. Jinwoo acknowledges the leader of the group and remarks that the battle has become entirely one-sided, and he wonders if the demon leader is surprised by how terrifying his shadow soldiers are. But then it becomes clear to Jinwoo that even the undead can experience fear as the demon visibly trembles, and in a blink of an eye Jinwoo sliced the leader's head clean off. Then a notification pops up, revealing that Jinwoo has just defeated Metis the Guider of Souls and has leveled up even further. Back outside, we see that a part of the city lies in ruins after a massive disaster. An investigator remarks on how battles between S-rank hunters can reshape entire landscapes, obliterating everything in their path. He notes, however, that they're lucky this fight was contained to just this area because it could have been far worse. The destruction was so sudden and overwhelming that it seemed to happen in an instant. Surveying the aftermath, he reflects on how Dongsu was defeated so quickly that the damage barely had time to spread. Back in the dungeon, Jinwoo has run out of food, signaling that this is as far as he can go for now. He's reached floor 75, and while there are likely only 25 floors left, it's still quite a journey. The gains, however, have been worth it. From the skeleton he defeated, Jinwoo received a necklace, and from the beast on level 50, he obtained an earring. Both items are powerful on their own, but together they offer a set bonus, adding 5 points to all stats. Noticing one empty slot in the set, Jinwoo deduces that there's one more boss-level beast to defeat. He also earns an item called the Sphere of Avaricious, and while it doesn't benefit Jinwoo directly, it doubles the firepower of his magic soldiers when they wield it, making it a valuable asset. Finally, Jinwoo's latest reward is the chance to open the cursed random loot box. He feared he might never get another opportunity, so he's relieved to find a second key inside. But unfortunately, the key comes with no instructions, leaving him clueless about when or where to use it. For now, these rewards take a backseat to Jinwoo's main objective, gathering the ingredients for the Elixir of Life. He already has the World Tree Fragment from Vulcan and the Spring Water from Echo Forest after defeating Metis, but that's 2 out of the 3 ingredients needed to save his dying mother. So Jinwoo vows that the next time he returns to this dungeon, he will finish what he started and complete his mission. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to not miss the next part.